Okay, we're going to bring up Nathan Kirschbaum for a quick little segment from one of our longest time sponsors. Here he comes.
Hey there.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good.
Good, good. All right.
All right, I'm gonna let you take over here.
All right. Thanks so much. Hey, everybody. I'm Nathan from Kirschbaum. And yeah, so this year we're just going to continue on with our tradition of having our team create a video for you. So without any further ado, let me share my screen. And hold on one second. All right, here we go.
There's nothing quite as satisfying as doing some great work. When I get to write a nice, juicy piece of code that's simple, clean, and maintainable, there's a certain joie de vivre that's magnificent. We here at Kirschbaum believe that solving problems like this, in every way, deserves to be called out. But sometimes if you're introverted like me, that can be a little scary. Here are the few helpful tips I present the Introvert's Guide to Giving Compliments. First, avoid the direct approach. Going straight up to Patrick and saying, "Hey, awesome work on that event listener," is dangerous. He may hear you, and he may acknowledge it. Ugh. Instead, try slipping it in as an additive on a conversation with someone else while he's on the call. For example, "Sure thing, we'll get that SOW for the Q3 POC by EOD before Susan's OOP. I bet this will be an easy fit next to that awesome event listener Patrick just wrote." Haha! Checkmate, social anxiety. Most communication tools have some really neat scheduling features. Send a kind note at 2 in the morning. Not only can you test if these tools will flub it during daylight savings time, but the chances of your recipient receiving it and remembering to corner you about it later in the day are pretty slim. Finally, it's possible you're doing some good work too, and you should acknowledge that. You are your own harshest critic, and I'm sure there's always something in your own work you feel could be improved. If someone gives you a compliment, the best response is simply to turn bright red, turn off your camera, and not speak for the rest of the call.
Great work on that event listener, Zach.
Never deflect or devalue praise for your work. We hope you've enjoyed this delightful presentation and hope to work with you on your amazing project soon.
Zach, please mute yourself.
A certain joie de vivre. And hope to work with you on your amazing project soon. Why'd you wink? You flirting with the camera? Step it. And that should be acknowledged. You should acknowledge that. You should acknowledge it. SOW in before the... Oh, why is that so tough? Oh, 'cause business, that's why. Wow, they should have hired an actor for this.
All right. I hope you all enjoyed watching that as much as we enjoyed making it. And obviously, for anyone interested in working with us, or definitely reach out. We're hiring. So yeah, thank you, and enjoy the rest of Laracon.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a kind of a fun little tradition we're starting here.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it.
The team does a great job with that. That's obviously takes a lot of work. So really appreciate you guys putting the time in to make it entertaining.
Our pleasure. We love it.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it, everybody. Obviously, look up Kirschbaum and all they do in and around Laravel. So thanks a lot. All right. Let's see what we've got here. Just a little behind. It's going to be all right. I got to show you Christoph's face. Can't miss any slides. Look at that. I'm gonna have to like NFT these slides. That's my plan. All right, let's see. Christoph's coming.
Hello, hello, hello.
He is. There he is.
Houston calling, Vienna calling, actually. Hey, Ian.
How are you?
I'm super excited and ready to rumble.
It looks like it. You got the lights hung. You're ready.
Yeah, I am.
Awesome.
Let's do this.
All right, take it away.
So let me just check the mic. Yeah, that's good.
And I can
Here
see
we
your
go.
screen.
Yeah, this looks like Austria. I'm not sure if it is, but it could be for sure. But yeah, we are starting here. Yeah, let's go. Hello, Laracon. Hello, people, wherever and whenever you currently are. It's amazing being here again. It's now my third time as a speaker, but I've also been as an attendee here, right from the beginning, because this conference is just so special, so good, just positive vibes. And yeah, it's shared to share this moment now together. My name is Christoph Rumpel. I'm a web developer from Austria, Vienna. I do mostly PHP, Laravel, and I have my one-man business where I'm also selling video courses about how to do stuff in coding or with your favorite IDE. You can find me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Christoph Rumpel, and I have a blog, Christoph-Rumpel, where I tweet and blog about all the things that I do. So today is special because I have a brand new talk for you. And as a speaker, the first time you present a talk is always the most exciting. And this talk is called Why Refactoring is the Best Tool to Write Better Code. And yeah, it's a long title, but I think it already tells you quite much about what we have to do in this talk. So we have to think about what refactoring is. What does this mean? And then what does better code mean? What does this mean? And then we need to know why we need refactoring to write better code. And that's the goal for this talk. So yeah, let's dive right in. And we're going to start with what is refactoring. When I started programming about 10 years ago, I only heard refactoring connected with legacy application. And back then I also didn't know what legacy application even means. And legacy is not a word that you learn very fast when you start learning English. So yeah, in fact, I had no idea about refactoring. Still, a lot of people refer to legacy application, which just means older, outdated application when they hear refactoring. And it's not that it's wrong, but there's so much more about refactoring. And yeah, glad I'm here to tell you a little bit more about this. But I also asked you on Twitter what you think refactoring is and what it means to you. And I got a lot of replies, and I'm only going to show you a few of them. So Pushback, who by the way got second in the quiz last night at the pre-party, congratulations again. He said arrange code to follow the solid principles. Or we have Dabo here saying improving the code without changing or removing the existing feature. Also good. Then we have Dr. Hypno, finding and improving areas of code which underperform in certain aspects, speed, performance, readability, etc., while maintaining the same outcome. So this is already quite technical and also very good. But the best one came by Sebastian, and yeah, that's what it looks like when we do refactoring the right way. So after my talk, hopefully we all come back coding and we will look like this. So that's the goal for today. But yeah, when you look up refactoring, you will find things like refactoring is the process of modifying and restructuring code without changing its functionality, or you could say also the output. So we are changing the code, but we're not changing the functionality or the output. But I'll give you some examples to make this a little bit more clear. So these are all commits that I'll show you from my Larastreamers open source platform. And on the left, we have the old code, and on the right, we see what we have changed. So here we're changing the namespace and the name of the class. And now think for yourself 1 or 2 seconds, do you think this is refactoring? Do we change the output of this code? Yeah, no, we don't. So we're only changing names here. So this is valid refactoring. Let's take a look at another example. What about this one? So this is from a test where we're calling the artisan method in a test to call a Laravel console comment. And on the left, we're using a string to do this. And on the right, we are passing a class name. Is this refactoring? What do you think? Again, think for yourself and let's see. Yeah, that's also refactoring because there are two ways to call a comment from this method, and we're just changing the way to do this. The output, the functionality still remains the same. So here another one. Yeah, what about this? We're changing the time zone in the config file. So what do you think? Is this still refactoring? And yeah, especially in Livestreams, this wouldn't be refactoring anymore because yeah, this will change a lot of things inside our application. And one more for you. This is a little tricky one. So what do you think about this one here? Here we have a query, and on the left, we're using a query scope called upcoming. And on the right, we're using a query scope called upcoming or live. So what do you say? Is this refactoring? Are we changing the output? And yeah, I already said it's a tricky one because actually we can't tell by only seeing the screenshot, because it could be that we're just renaming the query scope, then it would be refactoring, but it could also be that we're using a new query scope and then it could do something different and then it would change the output. So with this example, we can't really tell. But I hope that it's now a little bit more clear to you what refactoring is. We're changing the code, but we're not changing the output. Okay, next, what is better code? So this is a little bit more tricky because, yeah, what is better code? Some people might say more code is better code, like Harold. And I think most of us will agree that we don't agree with Harold, but is Harold wrong? Do we have the right to say that his opinion about better code is wrong? Yeah, I'm not sure. Actually, I don't think so because, yeah, the point is better code is a very personal opinion, a personal thing that you have to define yourself. And maybe Harold is getting paid by lines of code he's writing, and then more code is better code indeed. But yeah, for me, of course, more code is not better code. But most of the time, people try or refer to better code when you think about following the solid principles, making the code extendable, easy, secure, yeah, whatever you define. And of course, I've also defined this for myself. So currently, what I think about better code is code that is easy to read, self-explaining, expressive, and consistent. And I also refer to this code as simple code. So not simple to write always, but simple to read, simple to understand, and also simple to change. And these are things that I look for when I try to write the best code that I can. All right, so yeah, we know what refactoring is. We know what better code means. So why do we need the first to get the latter one? So let's try to think about the other way around. What does coding look like without refactoring? So of course, we want to make our code work. This should be the main goal always. But if we don't do refactoring, at the same time, we try to make it easy to read, self-explaining, expressive, consistent, whatever you have defined as being better code. And without refactoring, you try to do this all of the time and all together. And then, of course, your head will explode like this emoji here for sure. And yeah, this has a lot of disadvantages. It takes more time. It's more exhausting. You have the wrong focus because what do you focus on? Make it work, make it easy, make it readable, make it consistent. Yeah, too many things to focus on, and you will for sure also end up in rabbit holes, which we don't want to do. Now with refactoring, coding with refactoring now looks a little bit different. So what is the same is that we still want to make our code work. But the difference here is that this is our main priority, make the code work. And only then we're going to move on with the other things, try to make it easy to read, self-explaining, expressive, consistent. And now we can focus only on those things because we know the code is already working. And this will give you the right focus and it will be so much easier. Also, when we talk about refactoring, we also have to talk about testing. And testing and refactoring, they are like the best buddies. This just works so good together. Let me finish the GIF. Yeah. So when we refactoring, we are changing the code. And when we are changing the code, what will happen? It will fail, because that's just what happens if we change code, and that's okay. That's just part of our job. But with test, there's someone saying, hey, you changed something and now our code is working different to what we expected. So you might have to take a look. If you don't have tests, you might don't know, and you will deploy to production and maybe only then see that your new code changed something from the old code. So having tests when do refactoring will make your life so much more easy. Okay, this was the theoretical part. Let's also do a live demo here. And we're going to build a new feature for Larastreamers, my open source platform. And what we want to build is we want to tweet out a tweet like this every week saying, last week we had specific amount of streams, thanks to all the streamers and viewers. So let's get back to PHP Storm. I'm now in the Larastreamers repository, which is already quite big because we have a lot of contributions here. And let's start by taking a look at the test. So we already have working code here for this feature. So this is already a great base, but let's take a look what we did here. So we were testing first if we tweet a weekly summary. And what we're doing in this test is we create streams for the beginning and the end of last week. So that's what we're doing here. And we do this because if we have a tweet at the beginning of last week and at the end of last week, and if we then try to get those streams with the code, we have this period of last week covered. So that's what we're doing here. And this is also why we have here this methods for today, sub week, and start of the week. So this will give us the start of last week, and this will give us the end of last week. So this means now we have some data in the database, and then we're going to run a command. And that's what we have for all tweets we already have in this application, like tweet about live streams, tweet about upcoming streams, which just works automatically. And we all have comments for those things. So that's why we're also using here a command to send out a weekly summary. Okay, then we run the code and then we make some expectations. So what we think should happen. So we're making sure that a tweet was sent, and we're also making sure that it had a specific message. And we're using here this tester helper methods from a Twitter fake, which we have in this repository, which I want to show you real quick. Here we go. So this is just a very simple class, which mimics the real Twitter service class, which is talking to the real Twitter API. But this here is when we call the tweet method, we're only storing how many tweets we send and what the last message status was. So very simple here. And here, as you can see, we have those helper methods, which just makes life a lot easier. And inside our test case, before every test, we are switching out the instance of the real Twitter class, this one with our fake. And this is how we can make our life a little bit easier, and we don't have to hit the real Twitter API. Okay, that's how our test is working. And if we run it, it should also work. And this looks green, which is good. And let's also take now a look at our comment here. It's also not so complicated. Here we get all the streams from last week, a bunch of lines of code here. And then we are getting the Twitter class from the service container, which will give us in our test the fake class. And then we're tweeting out something with the count. So as I've said, we have working code, and yeah, that's the best base to start refactoring, because we know our feature already works. And what I always like to start with is with file names. So when we try to make our code work, we're not thinking about making code consistent, readable, and all those things. So often we end up with file names which are not as we want them to be. So here, for example, we have a tweet about live streams, tweet about upcoming streams, but our new tweet weekly summary comment looks different. So let's change this here. Of course, I'm using PHP Storm here. And let's call this tweet about to make this consistent. And also I like to have comment at the end of every comment, because yeah, that's just what we're doing here with all comment classes. And now this looks very much the same. And if we go here next time and check out what comments we have, we now see, okay, we have 3 tweet about something comments, and this will make your life, yeah, much more easy in the future. And also let's check out now our test. By the way, this is an amazing shortcut in PHP Storm to open up the file tree with the current file where you're actually in. So this is what I use now all the time to directly get to this file. And what we see here now is that, of course, our test also has a different name. So let's refactor this as well. And as always, I like to have my test to have the same name as the class we are testing, just with test at the end. So this means we need to call this tweet about weekly summary comment, and then we have test. Okay, it looks much better. But we now also see that we have a directory for test which belong to comment classes. So let's also try to change this now. And of course, we are using PHP Storm. No, I not want to rename this. I want to move this. And now what we want to do is we want to bring this to the comments directory, and this will automatically change out also the namespace. And now this class is where it should be. And again, those files now look much better to me. Okay, this was about files, and yeah, this is a good way to make your files look consistent. Next, let's take a look at our tests. So yeah, we have to refactor our tests too, because tests are also part of your application, and we also have to read and look for them. So it's also important to work on them. So what I immediately see, what I like is here where we create streams which are approved and finished, which just looks nice and it's easy to read. But actually what we're doing here is not so easy to understand. We have this comment here, but I still like to do something different here. So whenever we have this code construct, I like to introduce a new variable and give it a name. So what are we actually creating here? And it's the start, if I find my S button, start of last week. Let's give this a capital W. Yeah, and let's also do the same here. Here we go, introduce a variable, and this is now the end of last week. And let's also bring this up here, add an empty line. And I think now we can also get rid of this comment here, because now at the beginning of the test, we see that we are creating 2 dates, one for the start of last week and one for the end of last week. And now I think also this code now becomes much more clear what we're doing here. And yeah, let's move on. What else do we see? So in the examples of refactoring commit examples, which I've shown you, you've seen that instead of using the signature of a comment, that's the right shortcut, we can also use the tweet weekly summary comment class name. And the advantage which we have now is that if the signature of the comment is changing, we don't care because we are directly calling the class. And if the name of the class is changing, PHP Storm will take care of it and it will change it here. So that's why I always try to do this. Yeah, the rest looks good to me. So we have changed some code. So let's run the code to see if everything is still working, and it is. And yeah, that's just the joy of having tests when doing refactoring, because with every change, you can immediately check if everything is still working as expected. And yeah, it looks good for us. Now let's go to the comment. Okay, what do we do about this one? I think what we immediately see is this chunk of code here. So this is not easy to read, not descriptive. This is, yeah, of course, code which we need to refactor. And so, yeah, let's see what we're doing. So we are creating streams which are approved and which are finished. And we also have some query scopes for them already. So let me just get rid of this one here. And instead, what we're going to do is call the approved method. And instead of this, we are calling the finished. And these are scopes which we already have because we have been dealing with those streams, yeah, for a bit already. But what now is new is this here, where we ask for specific streams where the start time is the beginning of last week and at the end of last week. So very similar to what we were doing in the test. And yeah, actually, I don't care here how we get the streams from last week. Here in this handle, in this comment, I only want to know that we get them. So again, it also makes sense here to just copy this and create a new query scope. This is what we're going to do inside our stream model here. And let's create now a new one. So that's a public function scope, and we call it from last week. So everything after the scope will be the name of the method. Then here we have the builder, which we call query. And we're also going to return the builder. And query is written differently. One more try. Yeah, now we got it. Yeah, it's always so fun how typing becomes so difficult if 2,000 people are watching. Yeah, strange. I don't know what it is. And yeah, we're now going to return the query. And what we bring in now is the code from before. We're also going to import the namespace. And oh yeah, this is what we don't need because we already have this. And yeah, I think this should already it. By the way, in the quiz last night, we also had a question about this return here, because yeah, it turns out you don't need to return the query here. You will find that it looks like this also in the Laravel documentation, but the query is passed by reference, so it means we don't need to return it at all, and it would work as well. But yeah, still we have it here ready for all the scopes. We're going to keep it. Okay, back here, we can get rid of this chunk here, and we call this from last week. And if we run our tests now again, yeah, we can see that they are still working, and this chunk of code already looks much better. Okay, what's next? Yeah, so yeah, here we are getting the count, and it seems we're only showing the count of the streams and we don't need any data. So in those cases, it makes sense to just call the count method because yeah, this is more performant. And now let's also rename this to what it really is. It's the streams count. This means we can also get rid here of the count method and the braces, and we also saved some characters here. Let me look at this again. This already looks quite good, but yeah, of course, this is bothering me right from the beginning, this underlining of PHP Storm, which we always have to get rid of because that's not what we want. So yeah, we need a return type. We can add void because we're not returning anything. But what I like to do in my comment, I like to return this, the success code, which is just 0. And this is what you can do in comments. And I think it's a good idea to just tell that the comment was working, everything was fine. And this means also now we can add here the int as a return type. Yeah, I think this now looks much better. It looks clean. It's easy to read. It's easy to understand. So the next time I get here, the next week, I know what we are doing here. And yeah, this is what I look for when I look for better code. And I think we did quite a good job here on this comment. But yeah, when we have working code and also better code, which I think we have now, this is also a great base to work on new features and new variation of these features. For example, what we didn't handle so far is what happens if there were no streams last week. I still hope this is not happening because a lot of streams coming in every week, but yeah, it could be. Then we would send out a tweet with there were 0 streams last week, thanks to all the viewers. That's definitely not what we want to do. So let's get back to our test. Let's write a new one now together. And let's call it, it does not send weekly summary when no streams given. Yeah. And let's change this to tweet. That's quite a long name for a method, but I still prefer long method names and to make it really clear what we are doing here. And I think we can copy here this part of the last test because it will be pretty much the same what we're doing. But instead of 2 dates in between last week, we want now 2 streams outside of last week. We could also just create no streams at all. Then this would be working for this test as well. But I prefer to have some streams in a database just outside of last week to be a little bit more explicit here of what we are testing. So the first date that we want would be before last week. And I was missing a K. Here we go. And now how do we get this? So with this, we get the start of the last week. Now we're going to sub a day, and this will give us 1 day before last week. And then also this here, this should be now after last week. And what we can do is here just get rid of this part here, because if we just create a date for today, it would be after last week. I think that should be clear. Okay, then this part is also clear. Then we're also going to run the comment again. And now let's think about it. What do we expect now? Again, we have our Twitter fake class to give us some helper methods. And yeah, this is the one we're looking for. Assert that no tweets were sent. And if I'm now going to run this test, it should fail because yeah, we're still sending out a tweet, which we definitely don't want to do. Okay, now that we have a fitting test, that's what I like about TDD. It's going, we're going on to write the code to make the test work. So, and that's not so difficult. We're just checking if we have the streams count, and if we don't have it, we're just doing something. And with comments, it's always good to send some output to the comment line so that people who are running the comment see a nice message like there were no streams last week. And I'm going to copy this because we're going to need this in just a bit. And yeah, what we also could do is now create an else statement and then wrap this Twitter message here in the else, but I already know that I don't want to do this. So it's okay to think a little bit about refactoring also while working. And I'm going to return here again the success status code of 0. And yeah, we have no streams, but still it's a success for the comment because there was no error. Okay, this looks good. Let's run the test again. And yeah, good. We have everything green. So this means our test is working. And just a little thing that we can add here is with this artisan comment, we can also expect some output. And that's why I copied the message from before like this. So we make sure that the message which is being sent to the comment line is this one. And if we run our tests now again, they should still work. And we now have 2 assertions. All right, so this looks good. I also don't think there is anything we can improve now on this new code. I think this already looks good to me. It's easy to understand. It's also easy to change. And yeah, the only thing left now is run all of our tests, which I can do here with PHP Storm, just to make sure that none of the new things we just introduced to the code base is interfering with any of those other things that we already did. And we have 119 tests passing and 6 ignored, and this is good. So yeah, I hope I could show you how we can introduce a new feature working from working code to getting better code by little refactoring steps, thinking about how we can improve the code to what we aim for as a person, as a company, or as a team. So for me, refactoring is nothing about legacy applications anymore. For me, refactoring is a part of my daily work. It's a skill that I have in my tool belt, which I use every day. And I think it's just amazing how you can use it in combination with tests to write better code. And if you go away from this talk today, think about what is better code for yourself. And this could change, definitely change for me in the last years. And I think it also will change in the next years. And that's fine. It's okay to change. If you are a team or a company, it makes sense to write that down so that everybody in the team or company knows what code they are aiming for. That's very good. And write tests. You will sleep much better, and it will be so much for when you do refactoring. And you should. That's it from this brand new talk of mine. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know on Twitter how you liked it, or if you have any questions. I just have one little thing here for you. At the last Laracon in March, I introduced the Mastering PHP Storm course where I teach everything I learned about PHP Storm in the last years, to make you efficient, fast, and using the right tools for the right scenarios. And it's going really well with this course. And I give away today 10 discount codes for minus 20% from the original price with the coupon code MP-loves-laracon-summer. This is only valid the next hours until the end of the conference. Then they will be gone. There's still a discount code in the digital swag of the company, but those 10 I'm just giving away here for you right now. So that's almost the end of the talk. There's still one more thing. I hope, Ian, we still have another minute, so it wouldn't be a Laracon conference without revealing something new. So let me introduce to you Laravel Workflows. Laravel Workflows is a package that I've been working on with Sebastian Schöps for quite some time, and we now have a prototype we want to show you. You can find it on laravelworkflows.com, and there's also a QR code at the bottom right. But what this package does is you install it into your application, and what it gives you is a process model drawing phase like you see here, where you can draw all the processes of your application right from inside your application in the browser. But the cool thing is now that every action you define here for your process is connected to a dedicated PHP class, which we create for you. So this means the drawing of your model and your code will be always in sync, which is not out there yet. So there's a lot to tell you about this, and it's not so easy to explain. So please go to the website, laravelworkflows.com, check out the video that I created for you to explain it to you. And yeah, it's an upcoming package that we haven't finished yet. So subscribe to the mailing list. And yeah, let us know that you're interested in this and how you would use it for yourself. With this being said, thank you very much. It was great being here again. Have fun with all the other talks and the rest of the day. Thank you so much.
All right, great job as always.
Thank you.
Very good stuff. All right.